Namaskar, good evening viewers. You are watching Sansad TV and this is the news with Rajiv Kumar Singh. In the next half an hour, we will take you through the top developments of the day from India and abroad. Let's begin first with the headlines at this hour. Prime Minister Modi launches Jan Samarth portal for credit-linked government schemes, stresses need to make India's bank and currency part of global supply chain, introduces a series of coins designed for Amrit Mahotsav. Defence Ministry approves purchase of military equipment worth 76,390 crore rupees, next generation corvettes for Navy for rupees 36,000 crore. President Ramnath Kovind addresses a joint session of Uttar Pradesh State Legislature, emphasizes need to increase representation of women in legislatures. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu holds bilateral meetings with the President of Qatar Shura Council, emphasizes an parliamentary exchange between both countries, interacts with the Indian businesses community. Chairman of Conservative Party panel announces the no confidence motion against British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Now let us look at some more important news of the day. India terms as absurd that Pakistan, a serial violator of minority rights, is commenting on treatment of minorities in another nation. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Dhami announces magisterial probe in Uttarkashi accident. 26 people lost their lives in the incident on Sunday. Finance Ministry releases the third monthly installment of revenue deficit grant of rupees 7,183 crore to 14 states. Supreme Court expresses displeasure over continuing illegal mining by some firms in Odisha without obtaining forest clearance under the garb of status quo orders. Met Office issues yellow alert warning of heat wave conditions at isolated places in Delhi. In a 3-day visit from 8th June, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to give 12 high-speed guard boats to Vietnam, built under India's line of credit. RBI clarifies there will be no change in existing Indian currency and banknotes. Pandemic restrictions ease in Beijing after reduction in cases. Restaurants, museums, cinemas and gyms reopen. 780 cases of monkeypox confirmed in 27 countries in the 4 World Health Organization regions. Kazakhstan votes on constitutional amendments, referendum on policies of a former president Nur Sultan Nazarbayev, who led the former Soviet Republic for 3 decades. Now news in detail. People-centric governance and good governance have been the hallmarks of the last 8 years of the government, said Prime Minister Modi on Monday. He was inaugurating the iconic week celebrations of the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Corporate Affairs in New Delhi. The Prime Minister asserted that India has tried to do new work in the last 8 years. He added that the government has speeded up the development of the nation and empowered the poor. The Prime Minister launched the Jan Samarth portal for Prime Minister's credit-linked government schemes on the occasion and released a new series of coins. The Prime Minister also inaugurated a digital exhibition on the occasion.
हर पात्र व्यक्ति तक पहुंचना, उसे पूरा लाभ पहुंचाना, ये दायित्व हम पर है। अलग अलग मंत्रालयों के अलग अलग वेबसाइटों के चक्कर उसे लगाने से बेहतर कि वो भारत सरकार के एक पोर्टल तक पहुंचे और उसकी समस्या का समाधान हो। आज जन समर्थ पोर्टल लॉन्च किया गया है, वो इसी लक्ष्य के साथ बनाया गया है।
The Defence Acquisition Council, headed by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, on Monday approved the purchase of military equipment and platforms worth rupees 76,390 crore. The step is expected to give a substantial boost to the indigenous industry. For the Navy, the DAC approved procurement of next-generation corvettes, NGCs, worth rupees 36,000 crore. These NGCs are versatile platforms for various roles like surveillance missions, escort operations, deterrence, surface action, group operations, search and attack, and coastal defense. The DAC also approved the proposal of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to manufacture Dahiya aircraft and Su-30 MKI aero engines to focus on indigenous manufacturing. And in some other news from other parts of the nation, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha has said some elements are trying to create instability in the valley. He added that they are unable to digest the fact that the region has a flourishing economy and growing tourism. He said the administration and security forces are engaged fully in dealing with the anti-national forces. The three-day meeting of the RBI Monetary Policy Committee to decide policy rates started on Monday. The central bank is expected to take strict measures to curb rising inflation. The RBI governor will announce the RBI's decision on the policy rates on Wednesday. Railways has increased the booking limit for online tickets through IRCTC website and app. The minister said a maximum of 12 tickets can be booked in a month with a user ID not linked with Aadhaar instead of 6 tickets earlier. With an Aadhaar-linked user ID, 24 tickets can now be booked in a month instead of 12 earlier. The Enforcement Directorate conducted searches at several locations of Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain. The ED is investigating him in a money laundering case. Jain was recently arrested in the case. Heavy rains are likely in many parts of northeast India over the next few days. A warning has been issued in Assam, Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh. Monsoon is still awaited in North India. Wheat prices surged in international markets after India banned exports. The FAO, that monitors monthly changes in international food prices, said global production has fallen after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Daily cases of COVID touched 4,518 in the country. The number of patients under treatment rose to 25,782, that is 0.06% of the total cases. The national recovery rate of patients is 98.73%. President Ramnath Kovind addressed the joint session of Uttar Pradesh legislature on Monday. He said, in a democracy, the ruling party and the opposition can have differences over ideology, but there should be no animosity between them. The president called it the duty of the ruling party and the opposition to meet the expectations of the people. He underscored that people have many expectations from legislators and they should be mindful of it. The president also laid stress on the need to increase participation of women in legislatures.
इसी प्रकार कुल 100 सदस्यों वाली उत्तर प्रदेश विधान परिषद के सदस्य वर्तमान 91 सदस्यों में महिलाओं की संख्या केवल 5 है, जो आज की तारीख में लगभग 5.5% है। महिलाओं के प्रतिनिधित्व में वृद्धि की व्यापक संभावनाएं हैं। ये आप सब पर निर्भर करता है कि इस संभावनाओं को हम कैसे तलाशें और कैसे सुधारें।
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu is in Qatar on the last leg of his three-nation tour. President of Qatar Shura Council, Hassan bin Abdullah Al Ghanem, called on Vice President Naidu in Doha on Monday. The Vice President emphasized the need to deepen ties between the Parliament of India and Qatar and promote parliamentary exchanges between the two countries. Later, Vice President Naidu visited the National Museum of Qatar in Doha. The museum houses materials that reflect the cultural heritage of Qatar. The Vice President also wrote his message in the visitor's book. Vice President Naidu met Prime Minister of Qatar and Interior Minister Sheikh Khalid bin Khalifa bin Abdul Aziz Al Thani in Doha on Sunday. They reviewed bilateral relations between the two countries in trade, investment, economic and security cooperation. The Vice President noted the importance of close and friendly relations between India and Qatar. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also addressed members of the business community at the India-Qatar Business Forum. He spoke about strengthening India-Qatar relations. The Vice President also inaugurated the India-Qatar Startup Bridge, the aim of which is to connect the startup ecosystem of both the countries. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla inaugurated a training program for MLAs of Manipur at Parliament House. He also released a coffee table book, Pride, Congruency, Cohesion and Continuity, brought out by Pride, an institution of the Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha Speaker said public representatives are a link between the people and the government. He exhorted members to conduct meaningful and positive discussions in the House and with dignity and discipline. The Speaker emphasized the need for legislators to know the rules and procedures of the House along with the Constitution.
वो जनता के बीच में रहते हैं तो उनकी समस्याएं अभाव कठिनाइयों को जानते हैं, इसलिए विधानसभाओं के माध्यम से हम सदन में उनकी भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्ति करते हैं। तो हमें उस प्रदेश और देश के परिप्रेक्ष्य में और दुनिया के अंदर क्या परिवर्तन हो रहा है, उस परिप्रेक्ष्य में सदन में चर्चा करनी चाहिए।
Time for a short break here. On the other side, devastating fire kills 49 people, including 9 firefighters, and injures more than 100 in Bangladesh. Welcome back. Time now for all the main developments from Russia-Ukraine war front. Russian forces are attacking along the entire front line in the country's southeastern Donetsk region. Alexander Stupin, a spokesperson for Ukraine's armed forces, said they are also conducting offensive operations in neighboring Luhansk. He said Moscow's troops were continuing to press for full control of the city of Severodonetsk in Luhansk. UK will supply Ukraine with multiple launch rocket systems that can attack targets up to 80 kilometers away. Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said UK support for Ukraine will change as Russia's tactics evolve. The M270 multiple launch systems are similar to M142 high-mobility artillery rocket systems being sent by the US. The UK said Ukrainian troops will also be trained on how to use them in Britain. Russian President Vladimir Putin has lashed out at Western delivery of weapons to Ukraine. He insisted that such supplies were unlikely to change the military situation for Ukraine's government. He added that Kyiv gets long-range rockets, Moscow will draw appropriate conclusions and use our means of destruction to strike at those objects that we haven't yet struck. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to embattled regions in the southeast that are partly under Russian control on Sunday. He visited soldiers in Luhansk region and Soledar in Donetsk region. Zelensky received a battle report on the ground. He also awarded medals to troops. It is his second public visit outside the Kyiv area. A Russian state media journalist has said that Moscow's Major General Roman Kutuzov was killed in eastern Ukraine, adding to Russia's string of high-ranking military casualties. Ukraine's military says that the Russian army has so far lost 31,250 personnel since the beginning of the invasion on 24th of February. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces also said Russia lost 1,386 tanks, 3,400 armored personnel vehicles, 690 artillery systems, 209 multiple launch rocket systems, 551 cruise missiles, 96 air defense systems, 211 aircraft, 176 helicopters and 13 ships and boats. Time now for some other global updates. Gunmen opened fire on worshippers and detonated explosives at a Catholic church in southwestern Nigeria on Sunday, leaving dozens feared dead. The attackers targeted the St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State just as the worshippers gathered on Pentecost Sunday.
At least 50 people, including women and children, were killed in an attack by gunmen on a Catholic church in southwest Nigeria during Mass on Sunday. The gunmen shot at people outside and inside the church building, killing and injuring worshippers. Ondo State Governor described Sunday's incident as a great massacre that should not be allowed to happen again. The identity and motive of the attackers was not immediately clear. A doctor at a hospital in Owo said at least 50 people had been brought into 2 hospitals in the town from the attack. President Muhammadu Buhari condemned the attack, calling it heinous, and the Vatican said Pope Francis was praying for the victims who had been painfully stricken in a moment of celebration. Nigeria is battling an Islamist insurgency in the northeast and armed gangs who carry out attacks and kidnappings for ransom, mostly in the northwest. But in the southwest, attacks such as this are rare. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
6 people were gunned down and 24 others wounded in a pair of weekend mass shooting in the United States. In Philadelphia, 2 men and a woman were killed when multiple people opened fire on a crowd at a popular South Street nightlife area. 11 were wounded in a shooting late Saturday night. According to police, one of the victims had got into a fight with another man that could have been the cause of the shooting. 2 handguns were recovered, including one with an extended magazine. In a separate incident, a shooting broke out after midnight near a bar in Chattanooga, Tennessee, after midnight on Saturday, killing 3 and wounding 14 people. Police said 14 people who were hit by gunfire and 3 were hit by vehicles while trying to flee the scene. 2 people died from gunshot wounds and 1 person died after being hit by a vehicle. No suspects were reported in custody as of Sunday evening in any of the shooting. Now, World Brief. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson faced a confidence vote on Monday after a growing number of lawmakers in the governing Conservative Party questioned the British leader's authority following a Partygate scandal. Johnson has been under growing pressure after he and staff held alcohol-fueled parties at the heart of power when Britain was under strict lockdowns to tackle COVID-19. US and South Korean militaries launched 8 ballistic missiles into the sea on Monday. The Allies' live-fire exercise involved 8 Army tactical missiles, 1 American and 7 South Korean, that were fired into South Korea's eastern waters across 10 minutes following notifications for air and maritime safety. The South Korean military said the tit-for-tat missile launches aimed to demonstrate the ability to respond swiftly and accurately to North Korean attacks. A military reenactment parade filled the French Normandy town of Saint-Méhiges on the eve of the 78th D-Day anniversary. This was the first French village to be liberated from Nazi occupation. The people cheered. The handful of D-Day veterans wheeled through the town during Sunday's rainy parade of military vehicles. Reenactment participants dressed up in World War II uniforms. A former Australian state lawmaker was awarded $7,15,000 Australian dollars in defamation damages from Google over 2 YouTube videos. Former New South Wales Deputy Prime Minister John Barilaro sued Google for not removing the 2 videos which were made and published by comedian Jordan Shanks in September and October of 2020. Barilaro said the videos were a campaign of abuse and included racial slurs mocking his Italian heritage. An Iraqi court on Monday resumed the trial of two European tourists charged with antiquities smuggling. A German national and retired British geologist were charged after ancient shards were found in their possession as they were leaving the country in March. On May 22nd, Baghdad's felony court postponed the case after their lawyers argued that more information was needed about the ancient relics. The government said items 10 pieces found in their possession could be classified as archaeological pieces because they dated back more than 200 years. Authorities in Bangladesh struggled Monday to determine the cause of a devastating fire that killed at least 49 people, including 9 firefighters, and injured more than 100 others, officials and local media reported.
Efforts to extinguish the fire at the BM Inland Container Depot, a Dutch-Bangladesh joint venture, continued overnight after the inferno broke out around midnight on Saturday, following explosions in a container full of chemicals. Officials said the number of casualties rose over the weekend as many workers and firefighters were unaware of chemical storage at the depot, and after the initial fire, they got close to the explosive containers. A few hundred workers and dozens of firefighters attempted to extinguish the fire when the first explosion took place. The depot is located near the country's main Chittagong seaport, about 210 kilometers from Dhaka, and it is one of the 19 such depots in the region. Firefighters said more than a dozen containers had hydrogen peroxide that helped spread the fire after the explosion, but it was not clear what caused the initial explosion. On Monday morning, authorities started collecting DNA samples from the family members of the people who died in the fire, as burns made many of the bodies unrecognizable. The explosions shattered windows of nearby buildings and were felt as far as 4 kilometers away, officials and local media reports said. The death toll remained 49 on Monday, but the area's civil surgeon said the number could still rise as the fire raged for a second night. More than a dozen victims have been airlifted and brought to a specialized hospital in the capital city of Dhaka. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina expressed her shock at the accident and ordered adequate arrangements for medical treatment of all those injured. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for all the sporting action. In tennis, Rafael Nadal, who won his 14th French Open and record-extending 22nd Grand Slam title on Sunday, has categorically said that he would be playing Wimbledon only if his body permits him to play. Wimbledon is a priority. If I am able to play with anti-inflammatories, yes. To play with anesthetic injections, no. I don't want to put myself in that position again, said Nadal. In chess, Indian ace Vishwanathan Anand returned to winning ways, upstaging world number 1 Magnus Carlsen in the 5th round of the classical section today in the Norway chess tournament to climb to the top spot. After defeating the Norwegian superstar in the Blitz event that preceded the classical section, Anand claimed the victory in a thrilling Armageddon sudden death game after the regular match ended in a 40-move draw. India's Avinash Sable finished a creditable 5th during the prestigious Diamond League meet at Rabat, Morocco, and also in the process shattered his own 3,000-meter steeplechase national record for the 8th time. The 27-year-old army man from Maharashtra clocked 8 minutes 12.48 seconds in a high-quality field to shave off more than 3 seconds from his own previous national record of 8 minutes 16.21, which he ran at the Indian Grand Prix in Thiruvananthapuram in March. In football, Lionel Messi scored all the goals in Argentina's 5-0 friendly win over Estonia in Pamplona, Spain. Messi joined a select club comprising Juan Andres Marvezzi and Manuel Moreno to score 5 in a game for Argentina. The 7-time Ballon d'Or winner scored from the spot in the 8th minute, then added 4 more in a space of half an hour. His quintet extended his record tally of goals for his country to 86. Messi's great rival, Cristiano Ronaldo, marshalled Portugal past Switzerland in the Nations League. Ronaldo scored 2 goals in 4 first-half minutes as Portugal crushed Switzerland 4-0 in Lisbon. The victory took Portugal to the top of League A Group 2 on goal difference from the Czech Republic. Before we wrap, let's take a relook at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi launches a Jan Samarth portal for credit-linked government schemes, stresses need to make India's banks and currency part of the global supply chain, introduces series of coins designed for Amrit Mahotsav. Defence Ministry approves purchase of military equipment worth 76,390 crore rupees, next generation corvettes for Navy for rupees 36,000 crore. President Ramnath Kovind addresses the joint session of Uttar Pradesh State Legislature, emphasizes need to increase representation of women in legislatures. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu holds bilateral meeting with President of Qatar Shura Council, emphasizes parliamentary exchanges between both countries, interacts with Indian business community. Chairman of Conservative Party panel announces no confidence motion against British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. That's all we have in this bulletin. To keep yourself updated, stay tuned with Sansad TV. Till next time, goodbye. Namaskar.